Well, folks, thank you so much for hopping on today. We appreciate you. This is the April 2026 edition of our webinar series. We're calling this the BusPlanner Forum. So once a month, Binford or I get the tremendous pleasure of being able to host a webinar on BusPlanner's behalf. Get to talk about our learnings, things that we've seen out in the field, things we've learned from talking with folks at districts across the country. So today's subject is kind of top of mind for a lot of folks as we're heading towards the summer break, and we're already starting to do some fall planning. We're talking about one system, what a connected transportation operation actually looks like. So I am your host for today. I am Gus Munoz. You'll see it written out as Gustavo. Gus, Gustavo, literally anything that starts with a G, I will respond to it. I'm a solutions consultant here at BusPlanner, so I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to present for you folks today. I am joined by the illustrious and wonderful Mr. Binford Sloan. Binford, I don't know if you want to give a couple words for an introduction here.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. As Gus said, my name is Binford Sloan, and I'm the Director of Customer Success with BusPlanner. And just really enjoy working with a lot of people out there. I've been with the company for 6.5, almost 7 years now. And before that, I was a Director of Transportation for almost 25 years. So had a few rounds in the bus business. We'll leave it at that.
And in the game. Yeah.
The good people out there, and for all of you that are on here today, it's a rewarding profession to be in.
Completely agree. So yeah, we kind of have an action-packed agenda today, and so want to make sure that we're going through everything. We will leave a Q&A at the end in case you have any questions, so please let us know. Feel free to drop them in the chat at any time as well, but we'll open it up at the end to go through any questions you folks may have. So for an agenda, I want to kind of set the stage. Let's talk about the state of pupil transportation. Let's talk about where it's heading. We'll talk about what it looks like, kind of the subject here of today's webinar. What does one connected system look like? We'll talk a bit about our core suite, how we think about the core of routing and transportation, how we think about the ancillary modules or the tools that help assist on the peripheral there. We'll talk about BusPlanner, routing and operations, and Jeeps as well, and then we'll get into the Q&A. And so again, kind of an action-packed agenda here, but I think it's best that we just get right to it. And so when I think about the state of today's pupil transportation, I think it's changed quite a lot, Binford, over the last 20, 30 years. There are some places, I'll still walk into some places sometimes, and they do still have a map, and they're doing, red yarn and pins, and they're trying to figure out routes that way. But I will say that's pretty rare compared to what the majority of folks are doing. The majority of folks right now, they're using, state-of-the-art software, technology. They are running very sophisticated operations with tighter budgets than ever before. So they have to get more done with less folks, less resources. And at the same time, they're being demanded more and more from leadership, from superintendents, from school boards, from parents on Facebook. They're being asked to get things done and then wear 50 hats at the same time. And I'm kind of exaggerating with 50 hats, but I don't really think I am. And Binford, if you want to comment on your view of what's happening in pupil transportation today.
Yeah, I would say that you were right on all those fronts, for sure. And that, we saw a transition in this industry when COVID came about. And we were pretty much caught flat-footed, right? We had gone Monday through Friday, same transportation or afternoon. Then everything was turned upside down. And in a lot of ways, we've never really gone back. Okay, we're still having to, again, the driver shortages, the people who left when COVID, they didn't come back. The higher wages now are, taking bus drivers away from districts to go do other jobs. Again, the demands with service, it's students having unique schedules that are, going to multiple places. I mean, again, it could go on and on and on. You're not seeing people stay in the profession like you used to either. I remember when I got in, I met directors who were my mentors that had been in the business 30, 40 years, right? You don't see that anymore. And so there's just so many ways that the industry's changed, and we're just having to adapt and move with it.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, driver shortages still are top of mind. It feels like we hear some good news, or I'm starting to hear some good news. Districts are, raising wages or driving further recruitment efforts, but that in turn takes a lot of resources as well. I'm hearing that folks that are experiencing driver shortages, ultimately they have to get the kids to school. So what are they doing? They're being pulled from their core jobs. And this number cites 83% of district staff or transportation staff are leaving the office and getting behind the wheels of the bus. That is a staggering number, right? It means that being behind the wheel of the bus is very much needed, but it means you're missing out on the functions of the office, on the things you're supposed to be doing, the routing, the dispatching, the projects, right? The reporting, figuring out where you can drive extra efficiencies. And that's leaving a lot of people in the dust, so to speak. And you're right. Yeah, we're seeing churn all over the place. A lot of folks I talk to, like you and members of our customer success team over here at BusPlanner, just maybe started as drivers or started in leadership, stayed in the transportation department, worked through the transportation department, learned every aspect of it. Whereas now, you are seeing these pressures for folks to go maybe do different industries, or they churn out very quickly, or they retired and they didn't come back post-COVID. That is a thread I hear very often. And at the same time, right, what are we seeing? We're seeing budgets are flat or they're being cut. So again, we're asking transportation teams and school districts to do more with less. We're seeing an uptick in special needs transportation. We're seeing an uptick in McKinney-Bento transportation, in gen ed transportation as well in some areas. And so we're also asking for more transportation service to be done, more technical, maybe more complex transportation to be done, while at the same time taking away money. And at the same time, we have this sort of pressure from charters. We have pressure from, private. It really depends on your state, but in many places, the public school system is being asked to support these things, and some of them are unfunded mandates, which is not great. I don't know if you want to speak on any of those programs as well.
Yeah, I definitely can. You're right. The charter schools, the private schools has really taken off in some locations. I mean, there are some places where a charter school started with, 10, 15 students, and these facilities now have 4,000 or 5,000 students. So it's definitely a transition. And when districts are having to, I was in one just recently, and you think when you've heard it all, then you hear something else, and you're like, oh wow. And where I was, they basically have to, if a charter school in their public school district decides that they want to go to start their school and end times at a certain time, the public district there has to accommodate the charter school first in providing the services. Now, you guys think about this for a minute, okay? You're having to foot the bill, but yet you're having to give them the service they want, and it's there's so many demands now.
Was that I think I was a part of that conversation with you. It was like they had 33 unique bell times or something adjacent to that. It was great.
I'm not going to name the state. I will just say it's down south.
Yep. So let's talk now about where people transportation is heading. And so I was talking about, we've moved on from the era of maps and pins and needles in 99% of the cases. And folks are using routing software, they're using GPS tools, they might have a parent app rolled out. But how are those things dancing together? Even though these tools have been out for a bit, we're still seeing adoption of Jeeps. There are some places that don't have it. And I think a lot of folks are starting to enter the world where they're looking at student ridership scanning, right? Time and attendance on tablets, pre and post trip inspection on tablets, turn by turn navigation on tablets. And they want to make sure that if they go that route and they're doing scans, that data is communicating well. And so we're seeing upticks of that. We're seeing upticks in the parent app, right? Adoption of people wanting to tell parents, hey, the bus is coming, so the students can be prepped outside. Notifications can go out to parents. And as that adoption accelerates, right, as it grows, more and more places start to do it. More and more people want to understand how that data marries. How are they able to make it dance the way they want to? How are they able to get it in one space? And ultimately, is the bang worth the buck? Is it going to make their transportation team, is it going to make life easier for them? And is it going to keep stakeholders happy? Because there's a lot of stakeholders that are involved in transportation, right? We're starting to see more requests for plan versus actual. Instead of tracking, here's my plan, here's my actual in two systems, people want it married in one. And then we're seeing a lot of changes on the safety side too. I'm hearing more and more about stop arm cameras out there. I'm hearing more and more about reports, seatbelt mandates, all these things starting to come out. And so I think that's the future of transportation. We're already seeing these trends go, but we're going to see them accelerate, I think, more and more adoption across the country. And to do that, or to be able to have those systems, right, you need someone driving it. And so what's driving it? We have this here. Parent expectations are rising. Parents want more. They're much more quick to get on Facebook or to call up leadership and start asking questions or making demands. Or for the folks on the call, I'm sure you might be getting some calls from parents into your office. And so districts need to have tools to be able to support that. Because we're seeing changes in who's coming online, with less drivers or driver retention issues, you might have a lot more substitute drivers than you needed, right? So if I had a bus driver that was driving a route for 20 years, knew the area like the back of their hand, the substitutes don't know it the same way. You get these substitute drivers that are newer to the area or, wanted to pick up some hours, trying to make a couple extra dollars. They don't know the area super well. They don't know the kids super well. And so tablets will help with that, right? We also have a lot around compliance. So there are many places that struggle with their compliance. And so being able to track the changes that are happening on a day-to-day basis for special needs transportation, for McKinney-Vento transportation, and the constantly shifting needs of that. And then contractors as well, tracking their contractors or contractors working with the district, keep a track of that. All those things are important. And then we're seeing very heavy investments in electric vehicles, which in turn means that you really want to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck out of those EVs. Whereas a diesel used to cost $150,000, or depending on your area, right? A new diesel bus, maybe $150,000, $130,000 in some places. Some of these EVs are $400,000, right? And you're getting grant money for them, or you're buying for them out of pocket, right? You want to make sure that they have the full length of information, of technology to get the most bang for your buck out of them. Binford, as I'm recapping where the industry is going, I think we're already on this path of more technology being adopted, but I do think it's speeding up. I think it's hastening. Are you seeing that when you talk with districts and when you talk with folks across the country?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, it's whereas a lot of this technology it was there, some of it may be first gen, some of it second or third, but it was more siloed. Whereas now, trying to get everything in one place where they can just work with all of it simultaneously. That's really what I'm seeing as well too. And then also with the advent of the that's out there now, being able to do so much more with that. Those will be the two biggies for sure.
I completely agree with that. AI is here. It's being included in things. It's being built around, or systems are being built around AI. We're hearing it more and more. There's pretty much no conversation I have these days where AI is not mentioned. Whether it's a transportation director, a router, dispatcher, a superintendent, school boards, they're all asking about AI all the time. And having those systems married with your transportation technology is going to pay tremendous dividends. It is quite literally the future. And so we're excited on that front as well and continuing to talk about it. So let's talk about why unifying disparate systems matters. You've kind of alluded to this so far, but I want to talk about the cost of fragmentation. I want to talk about why having disparate systems could hurt you. And I kind of just talked about it there with the pen and paper example, whereas having a simple tool actually is far more complex. And what matters most about getting information, about making decisions, about dispatching and routing and tracking students and all of that, what matters is that things are simple, but they're not simplistic, right? So they should not be lacking features and functionality, but they should be easy to use. And so in current state, if you have a number of different vendors, or if you're tracking on pen and paper, all your information lives alone. It lives in silos, right? My routing software does this. My GPS software does this. My GPS and my routing software, even if I marry them, sometimes they're not getting the full information that they need, right? If we're working with a couple different vendors that don't jam well together. The same with ridership or dispatching. You might be dispatching over the radio and using spreadsheets, which means you need to be tracking the things in the routing software and putting them in the spreadsheets, or tracking the Jeeps, putting them in the spreadsheets. So you might have 3-4 different screens you're juggling, parents calling you at the same time. You lost your train of thought. And so it's hard to keep track of these things, right? That in turn means slower decisions because you don't have the most fresh, up-to-date information. So you're in this position where you have to go find the facts before you can make decisions. That's a lot of integrations, manual pulls, checking, rechecking. Again, you get called away. Now you got to go redo some effort, which makes it more difficult to make big decisions as well. So not just are your decisions slower, but those big decisions are harder because you need more data, and so it takes you more time to gather that data. Also, the cost of integrations, right? So think about getting systems to communicate the way you want means a lot of time spent managing that marriage of information. And what I mean by that is that if one part of the chain has an issue, you might spend a lot of time on the phone. You might have vendors kind of finger pointing at each other. That has its own cost, right? And let's talk about inconsistent stakeholder experience. And so when they're trying to get an answer, when a parent's trying to get an answer, a driver's trying to get an answer, when it's really dialed in, it's really dialed in. But if it's not really dialed in, they might be waiting for time, they might be waiting for answers, and that in turn might lead to some unhappy drivers, parents, school admin, etc. Binford, am I hitting the big ones here? Are there any other sort of costs associated with having your data siloed?
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely these are all very valid points and things that we see. For me, and again, this is the bus guy coming out in me, right? And so I always would look at it as, with everything that you're dealing with, where's the one place that things can fall apart, right? And that's with communication. Because why? Because school busing it's just diversified. It's everywhere. It's not in one physical room within one building. It's just scattered all over a geographic footprint that all of these districts have to cover. Mm-hmm. And so when you don't have technology that can rectify barriers, right, as you're having to make changes, that's where we see a lot of these things pop up. So having the data, in different silos, for you have the routing in one place, you have the GPS in another, you have the student information in a third drawer somewhere. It just, none of it is connected. Then you can't do what you have to and keep that communication there for your parents, for your schools, right? It could be if you're in a larger organization, you've got multiple transportation offices, right? So again, those are things that it all revolves around that one pedestal where you work with.
Blending data together and bringing it all into one place is amazing because it does help you make those decisions. In BusPlanner, we're really good about bringing in data that you need. And I love being able to work with folks to set that up, right? To marry, if you have something you love, and we're going to marry it. If you have something you don't really love, we've got something for you too. And having that flexibility and having that support for folks is one of my favorite parts of the job. But I do want to elaborate a bit on, the value of a connected platform. That's kind of the crux of the topic today, is one source of truth. So everything you need, you can find in one place. There's one sort of location that has everything. And having that means that folks don't have to go search for that one Excel that's saved somewhere that you can't delete a row on it, or you'll cause an hour's worth of headache for a lot of people on the team. It means that you can pull fresh data, you can pull the most accurate data, you can pull historical data, and you can have everything you need at your fingertips. And everyone knows to go to that one place versus kind of playing hide and seek or scavenger hunt is the word I was looking for. Again, instead of slower decisions, we can do much faster decisions. So we can get information right there to help us corroborate our choices and our gut instincts in real time. We can do, better safety and compliance. So we can actually keep track of the changes that we're making on a day-to-day in case, God forbid, some incident occurs. So we have a history of what actual changes have been done. And ultimately, it's a better experience for everyone, right? So parents are getting accurate information on where the bus is if you do a parent app. Drivers are getting accurate turn-by-turn directions instead of guesstimates. School admin and staff are getting the data they need that they're requesting from you. And even we can set it up where they can get information. They can get messages that the bus is on its way, for example. There are so many different stakeholders in student transportation that rely on you. And when I think of us over here at BusPlanner, and when I think of some of the other folks out there, getting everything in one place is beautiful, and it helps quite a bit with all the things we've described, right? And so Binford and I work very closely with a number of districts that are rolling this out, that have added this, that are slowly adding these things. I think about it in sort of three main ways. And so Binford, I'll give my take on it, and I would love to hear yours. But I think about it as student routing, right? So here's the plan: which kids are going where, at what time, and communicating out to parents, to districts, staff, to drivers, all of those things. The second bucket I kind of group things in is where are my buses and how are my buses doing? So I want to know what my buses are actually up to. I want to make sure they're following the plan that we made, and I want to make sure all my vehicles are performing well. I am going to misattribute the quote, but I forgot who said this. Cindy was telling us that the routers write the music and the dispatchers play it, right? And I think that was a quote taken from somewhere else. But again, you got your planned in here, and the second bucket, you have your actual. And the third kind of bucket that I group information in is the additional items like your tablets. Like, okay, I know who's supposed to be riding. I know where my buses are. Now I want to know who actually did it. I want to know all my comms are going out in a very sophisticated manner. I want to make sure all my vehicles are being taken care of. And I want to make sure all my drivers are doing the things they're supposed to be doing. And so that's kind of the three main ways I break it down. Binford, am I off the mark? Would love to hear your thoughts as well.
No, I mean, you're not off the mark at all. I mean, because again, it goes back into, what you plan, right? And I used to always use the phrase about first day of school. It's like a theatrical production, right? When that curtain goes up for the first time, all that work, it's no longer a dress rehearsal. You're now actually doing it. And that's where you're going in this operations mode that you're referring to here. And so being able to have these two separate vessels, but they also coexist with one another. That is, again, what's going to take this all in one platform to the next level, right? And so a lot of times when I talk about this with people, especially with routers, they're like, oh my, somebody's going to be in my stuff and messing it up. You kind of have to step back because and I understand, having come from that, it can be a lot to take in, but these two actually work. They're independent, but they're dependent of one another. So when somebody in operations is making all these changes, right, because you got X number of drivers, you already had your vacancies that you're having to fill, but then you got people who call out the last minute. You got the people who are on FMLA or whatever that you're having to cover. So you're having to break these all up. And when you're doing that, it's a very fluid process because it's a true ecosystem, right? And it's keeping all of those different stakeholders that we were just talking about on the previous slide in the know. So they know that Binford's not going to be riding now on bus 58. He's not going to be picked up at 712 anymore. He's now going to be on bus 206. And his pickup time just got changed to 7:53 without anybody having to say it. That's the beauty of this. Goes back to that communication part that we were talking about earlier.
I agree. I think that's underappreciated. Hey, I made a route change. And we're talking about, parents was the main answer on that poll there, right? Hey, I made a route change. What happens? Text, email, website update, parent app update, even tablet update if the drivers are using the tablets, right? You can do all those things immediately, like no extra effort. That just happens automatic. Now in BusPlanner's case, we could set that up on a schedule. So we can have that on a delay if you wanted to. It can be a couple days a week, or you can literally have it all go instantly. It's just a matter of preference. All of that is so beautiful having it in one place because, again, as you were describing, these are different systems, but they do so much work together. The Venn diagram is not a complete 100, but there's a lot of shared space in the middle of that Venn diagram there, right? Or the multiple. We'll take multiple circles here. We'll draw a big old intersecting circle on the Venn diagram there. When I talk about one transportation platform, the stars, or what usually gets brought up, is the routing, the Jeeps, and ridership, right? Tablets. But there's so much more to that. And so this is kind of additionally how we think about it at BusPlanner. Mapping tools, redistricting tools, opening and closing schools, bell time analyses, turn-by-turn navigation, parent app, financial tracking. I've already talked about GPS, but financial tracking. So tracking the cost of your contracts with contractors, tracking the cost of just running your entire operation on a per mile, on a route, who's riding for over 60 minutes. You could literally break all these things down. Field trips, fleet maintenance, notifications, auditing, performance tracking, smart sheets and workflow like sign-up forms, opt-in transportation, IEP coordinator forms, hazardous walk review requests, dispatching tools. I mean, really, the sky's the limit. There are so many components that we talk about in transportation. Having those under one roof and having that in one place really helps you make decisions, really helps you get information and data that you need. And so I do want to show you this because I think it's really awesome. I'm going to name some more stakeholders that transportation works with, right? You got your drivers as one, your dispatch team, your routers, your directors. You might have schedulers in your office. You might have office assistants, admin crew, your safety teams, trainers. Every office is a little different. Those broad strokes, you probably got some folks doing those jobs in there, or you're working with the folks to do those jobs. But again, your parents, getting information to your students even. So we have some of our students that have the parent app. You know, a high schooler has the parent app, so they know when the bus is coming. So maybe parent app is starting to become a bit of a misnomer. Maybe it's just information app or something akin to it. And then also communicating with the schools. And so Binford, when I think about the different stakeholders that we're talking to and the information that they need, what are you seeing from them? What are you hearing asked? What are you hearing demanded from all these people that are affected by transportation that might not actually be in the transportation department themselves?
They want to know exactly what you are doing. Because you think about, and people that are in transportation, they resonate when I use this term. It truly is organized chaos every day. Okay. You understand it inside of an organization, but then when you're working with your stakeholders in the schools, they don't necessarily know what you're doing to, shift around all of those buses that you have no drivers for, or the ones that break down, and then the one that just got in a wreck, right? So they just want to know what are you doing? Because like you in transportation, you're shorthanded. You don't have enough people, not only to drive, but to work in the office, do all the work. Guess what? Most all the time, the schools are just as shorthanded on their side. So they don't have time to pick the phone up to call to say, okay, where's bus so-and-so? What are you doing? Everybody's fighting the same struggles here. So again, just taking care of that communication and having a system that can, through automation, be able to keep everybody informed is going to that's going to check boxes for people every day.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And I think that's actually a really good way to encapsulate everything we've discussed so far. It's automated communications. You can obviously still do manual communications. That'll always be available, but automated communications when changes occur, keeping stakeholders in the loop, right? Getting the information to the people that need it. What I typically tell folks too is that some of that's configurable. We want to give information to folks that need the information, and we don't want to give them an ounce more. And so my prime example is, if someone's booking a field trip, we want them to be able to book field trips for their school. We don't want them to see all the field trips that are happening today, and you can keep it closed off. Or if you have a dispatcher that doesn't do any routing whatsoever, you can have your dispatcher in there. And they can see the routes, right? But maybe we don't want them editing the routes. I mean, pick your poison here. I'm just giving some examples. But communicating information to folks that need it so they don't call your transportation department, I think that all ties to comms. And that's one of the very beautiful things of having a one-stop shop. Alrighty. Okay. So I've got one here, and we're pretty close to the end here, folks. Where I want to talk about our experience at BusPlanner, and why, when we describe these things that we've been describing, why we think it's pertinent for you to think about them when you're ever exploring or looking or thinking about what it looks like to unify a system. Bringing in all of your information allows you to do optimizations. It allows you to use that data to corroborate the feelings you have in your gut, the gut feelings and actions you take. Now you can have real data to back it up. You can identify your strengths and weaknesses. You can plug and see, hey, this is what I want my folks to work on today, assign them to work on those. And it helps you come up with these strategies to continuously improve your department and also continuously roll with the punches that you might be facing. Driver shortage, budget cuts, etc. And what matters is if you get a system, if you're looking at any system, whether it's BusPlanner or anything, you're getting love and support, and you're getting folks that know that speak transportation, folks that have worked in transportation that can actually answer your questions, that can actually support you, and that can help migrate you over as well. as painless as possible, that are good at pulling data, that are good at working with data, that are good at working in maps, that are good at helping you get everything you need. Binford, I don't know if you want to make a couple comments here on that, on the consultative support and the benefits of a one-stop shop.
I think you hit on some really good points there. The one that I see again is somebody who came from the other side, who was at one point looking for, this a new type system. I saw a lot of these strengths around what we have with BusPlanner, that where it's a unique experience all the way around. And so it starts from that very first meeting, that encounter, and then it turns into those partnerships that can, go on for not only a year, two, a few years, but, we have some customers that have been with us now, 30 plus years. That right there speaks volumes. You hit on another part about people that have been in the business. That's something else that makes this company very unique, that everybody in the customer success division has come from not only transportation, but pupil transportation, and has many, many years in it. And I think, again, just having been there can now help lead to, working with people to foster those relationships, and watch them grow from the very beginning, and then just to go through it. And the other part is just watching people excel with it. I get to do a lot of great things and meet a lot of great people, and the stories, they never cease to amaze me. Last week, you were there with me. We went to Michigan, and one of our customers that's been with us now for almost 5 years, and to listen to them tell their story at a conference of why they wanted to go to something, and then they came to BusPlanner, and then there were some team members there who were apprehensive, but in the beginning, but to see where they have now blossomed into and really grown with it, and wish that they had done it a whole lot sooner. That's the part that makes it so rewarding for me anyway, right? Because again,
it's for all of us. It's for all of us.
Yeah, it just shows that, people, because we care, right? And that's the thing that I always tell people, that, when you go into this, you're not going in with somebody who's just there to sell you some software. You're going in with somebody who truly cares about what you do. And everything that we've talked about today, it's come from people in the industry, right? That's the BusPlanner way. We listen to our people, and that's how we've grown and built what we have now.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to have folks that are just like, wouldn't it be cool if we can do X, Y, Z? It's another to hear it directly from the mouths of transportation leaders, and building those things that they ask. Or building those things are like, when a school district says, wouldn't it be cool if you could do X, Y, Z? That makes my ear perk up and listen. That's where I get really excited. And so, folks, I had this last little view there, but I do want to thank you all for your time. There are more components that, I'll touch on briefly before we get to a Q&A, but we talked routing, Jeeps, tablets. I mean, there are things like having your field trips tool integrate, right? So your field trips tool knows which drivers are available, or, a pre and post trip request or inspection is done on the tablet, having that go to your fleet maintenance software, having a fuel integration with your fleet maintenance software, having that financial tracking show up and pull up within your routing software, within your reporting. There are so many great things about unsiloing your data and marrying it up together. And I think that's what I ultimately want to leave you folks with, is that the more integration, the tighter the integration, the better. It helps you make a lot better decisions. It helps you move faster, and you got to get more done with less. So you do have to move faster. And when you wear 50 hats, that is impossible. So you need the technology to help you out. And that's what we do.